All right, it is time. So I'm going to begin the class. So if you haven't already, come to a comfortable seated position, either classic cross-legged, in this position if you like this, or kneeling, whatever's comfortable for you. Or also feel free to lay down if you prefer to do that, and if that's what you need. We're just going to be here for a few minutes doing some centering, arriving in class before we come up to standing. So in any comfortable seated position or lying down, and whichever seated position you're in, just making sure that you're maintaining the lumbar curve, which is why I've got you to raise yourself up on something, i.e. if you're sitting straight on the floor, it can be very easy to slump back like that, whereas if you just raise yourself on a cushion, much easier to sit from the lower back and keep your spine comfortable. Okay, so as I've said before, just for the benefit of those of you who haven't been before, I obviously can't see any of you. Even if you had your video on, I still wouldn't. I'm obviously quite far away from the computer. So really taking responsibility for your own practice here. Please don't do anything that feels wrong in your body, and just, yeah, checking in with yourself and what you need today, what's going to be good for you today. And we'll do, yeah, questions and checking all that at the end. Okay. So whichever position you're in, whichever seated position or laying down you're in, just close your eyes and take a moment to arrive in your body. Arrive with your breath. And just notice how you feel. Any pleasant or unpleasant emotions, perhaps a lot of movement in the mind up until this point. Perhaps this is the first point in the day that you've given yourself the opportunity to just be with your body, with your breath. And we'll just do a quick body scan, so bringing your awareness down into your feet and ankles, up through the lower legs and the knees, bringing the awareness into the thighs and the pelvis. And as we're doing this, just noticing any areas of tension, any areas of pain, not to judge it, not to change it, but just to notice and accept it, to be there with however you are today. And then bringing the awareness up through the torso, perhaps lifting the sternum, the chest a little bit as you do so. Bringing the awareness into the shoulders, the arms, the wrists and the hands. Noticing the sensation, contact between the palm of the hand and your legs. And then bringing your awareness up into the face, relaxing all the facial muscles, the jaw, nose and cheeks, the eyes and eyelids. Seeing if you can just soften the forehead. And we'll just take a few deep, intentional breaths here. So as you inhale, rising up through the crown of the head. And as you exhale, allowing the shoulders to drop down and back. Inhale, breathing wide into the sides and the back of the rib cage. And exhale, allowing the the pelvis to drop down a little deeper into the floor or the cushion. And inhale, really breathing down deep into the diaphragm, into the belly. And exhale again, relaxing the face. And as you allow your breath to return just to its normal level, in and out through the nose, perhaps setting an intention for the next hour to be here with your practice, not to judge or criticize yourself, but just to be present with however things are today. Okay, and then opening your eyes and interlace your hands in front of you. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, push the palms away. Tips of the thumbs are touching, little fingers crossed. Draw the belly in and up. Take another breath in, and as you exhale, turn the arms in the shoulder sockets. Really keep that abdominal working, so you're not going into a back bend here, but finding the movement in the shoulders. And then on each exhale, so even if you can stretch up a little bit more, keeping the core working, so ribs drawing down slightly. Squeeze the upper arms together as you draw the wrists away from each other, so this is really, really active. Keep the breath flowing, stretching the sides of the body from hips to armpits to wrists. And then slowly bring the arms down, release the hands. And if you're in any cross-legged position, just release your legs. If you're kneeling, you can stay where you are. And then cross the legs the other way, so whichever leg you had in front can go in the back. It might feel a little bit strange because we always habitually do it one way. And then we're going to interlace the hands the other way, so whichever way you habitually do it, switch the grip. So you've got the less dominant thumb on top. Draw the belly in and up, lift the chest. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, push the palms away. Take another breath in, drawing the belly to the spine. And then as you exhale, slowly, mindfully, moving in the shoulder sockets. And so when I'm talking, I'm just going to turn to the side so that you can see. You guys can stay in the position that you're in. But when I'm talking about engaging the core in this position, this is so that you keep the torso completely stable and really find that movement in the shoulders. So if the shoulders are tight, this might be as far as you go before you have to do this. And I don't want you to do that. So really being honest with yourself, finding the movement in the shoulder socket. And as I get to this point, I really have to work here to keep my torso stable and not kind of go into that position. Okay, so squeezing those upper arms together, drawing the wrists away from each other, lift up one more time, and then slowly bring the arms down and release your hands. Okay, let's come up to standing. So stand with your feet together, big toes touching, perhaps heels touching as well. I have to have my heels slightly apart because I've got knock knees, but whatever's comfortable for you, just with the big toes touching either way. And bringing the awareness down into the feet. Just take a moment to spread the feet. So ground down through the heel of the right foot, lift the ball of the foot up, stretch it forward and spread the toes as you bring them down. And then ground down through the heel of the left foot, lift the ball of the foot up, stretch it forward, spread the toes. And then bring your body weight back slightly so that your hips stack directly over your heels. Engage the quadriceps to lift the kneecaps up. Lift the front points of the pelvis, so drawing the low belly in and up. Tailbone goes down slightly. Lift the chest, roll the shoulders down and back, and extend your fingertips down towards the floor. mountain pose, which is the foundation of all the standing postures. And so we're trying to get this sense as we go into the later standing postures. So while you're here, feeling the lift in the inner arches of your feet, lifting the front of the kneecaps, lifting the front of the pelvis, lifting the chest, lifting the crown of the head, but then also the sense of drawing down. So the shoulders drawing down, the fingertips extending down, tailbone drawing down, heels grounding down deep into the earth. So really, really active. And then we'll take the arms up overhead, so extending to the side if you have space, or coming up in front if space is limited. Turn the arms in the shoulder sockets and come all the way up, and then really lift and lengthen the whole torso. Imagine you're hanging from the ceiling. You can visualize the spine lengthening here. Keep the breath flowing and keeping that foundation that we built. So body weight still back over the heels and kneecaps still lifted, belly still drawing in and up, chest lifted. Stretch up one more time. And then slowly bringing the arms down, turning in the shoulder sockets and bringing them down to the side. So we return to this place, mountain pose, in between the standing postures. So remember this feeling. And then bring your hands to your hips, bend your knees, and step or hop your feet to a wide stride. So you want to go wide enough here so that when we bend the knee, your knee remains above your ankle. So if you go too narrow, this will happen, which is not what you want. So be generous with your stance, and then begin with 2 heels in one line and the outside edges of the feet parallel. So that means turning the toes in slightly so that those outside edges of your feet line up with your mat. Again, engage the quadriceps, body weight back. Tilt the pelvis back a little bit, so drawing the low belly in and up, tailbone down, lifting the chest, roll the shoulders down and back. Bring your hands to your hips and draw the elbows back a little bit. And then we're going to turn the left foot in slightly and the right foot out all the way. So I'm mirroring you if you haven't been to class before. Hips still facing pretty much forward, so we're not turning around to the side, but keeping the hips facing the long edge of the mat. I'm going to inhale the arms out to the side, extend through to the fingertips, really take the mind to the back foot, push that heel down, engage this quadricep, and keep your mind there as we go in. So we're going to inhale, lift the chest, and exhale, really keep working that back leg as we sit down into warrior 2. So this back leg remains really active throughout. Push that heel down, lift the quadricep up. With the right leg, the knee will want to fall forwards towards me, so push that knee back to the little toe side of the foot, keeping that external rotation of the thigh. Torso is directly above the hips, so not leaning over the right leg, keeping the spine in one line, sitting down a little bit more, arms extended, and then finally turning your gaze to look along your right arm. So really using both arms, fingertips to fingertips, spreading the hands nice and wide, shoulders relaxing down away from the ears, belly in, and gazing with a long neck. Perhaps just check out your back arm behind you, check that it hasn't gone to sleep a little bit, keeping that really active. Mind again to the back foot, really push that heel down and see if you can sit down a little bit more into that right leg. Keep the breath flowing. And then bring the gaze to the front. Straighten your right leg, turn the foot round, and bring the hands back down to the hips. So we go to the other side. Turn the right foot in a little bit and the left foot out all the way. So when you're turning the foot out, you want the inside edge to be parallel with the long edge of the mat to aid with that external rotation of the thigh. Hips facing forward, belly in and up. Inhale the arms out to the side, mind in the back foot, really push that heel down as we sit down now to the left. I'm going to go a little bit wider so that my knee doesn't go over my ankle. And then really grounding down through that heel, lifting the kneecap up, drawing the belly in. Push the left knee now back away from me, so towards the little toe side of the foot. Check that your shoulders are directly above your hips, you're not leaning over to one side, and sit down a little bit more, turning the gaze finally with the long neck to look along your left arm. Keep the breath flowing in and out gently through the nose, making sure that both arms are working equally so that back arm isn't drooping down behind you, shoulders down away from the ears, chest lifted. And see if you can sit down a little bit more into that left leg, pushing the knee back over to the little toe side of the foot. And then bring the gaze to the front, straighten that leg, turn the foot round, hands on hips, and step or hop back to mountain pose. Spread the toes, body weight back, chest lifted, roll the shoulders down and back. And breathe. Inhale, rising up through the crown of the head. And exhale, extending the fingers down towards the floor. Okay, hands on hips, bend the knees, step or hop to a bit of a less wide stride. We're going to do warrior one. So this time we're going to turn all the way to the side. So pick up the toes of the left foot and turn them in, and then turn the heel out. So you're turning it round to a 45-degree angle, and then turn the right leg out all the way. And this time the hips are going to turn to the side of the room. Squeeze your inner thighs together. So imagine you're trying to grip something between your inner thighs, and you'll feel how that brings this back hip round so that eventually your two hips can be facing now the narrow edge of your mat. Really ground down through that back heel, so push this thigh back and keep the glutes squeezing so you're turning the tailbone down, draw the belly in. Inhale, take the arms up overhead, lengthen the whole torso, and then sit down, bending that front knee. Really keep that back leg active, so it's going to want to bend, but really push the thigh back, keep the heel down, belly in, chest lifted. And then if you want here, we can go into a slight back bend. So really keeping this glute active. We lift up first, so lift the arms, lift the chest, and see if you can just lean back slightly, keeping the length in the torso. Keep the breath flowing. Keep that back leg really, really active. Belly to spine, lift up one more time. And then return your spine to a neutral position. Straighten your right leg. Turn the right foot round, left foot round. Bring the arms down and relax a moment. Check you've still got two heels in one line, and then we will go to the other side. So turn now the right foot in a lock, so 45-degree angle, and the left foot out all the way. If you're finding it difficult to balance in this posture, you can broaden your stance a little bit. So just move the front foot out to the side, and that will give you a bit of a wider stance and make it easier to balance. And then again, we're going to squeeze the inner thighs together to bring that back hip forward. Really active through the back leg, push the heel down, engage through the quadricep, belly to spine. Inhale, take the arms up overhead, lengthen, and then exhale, bending now the left knee. Keeping that whole right leg really, really active. Keep the glutes squeezing, turning the tailbone down. And again here, if we want to go into a little bit of a back bend, lift first, lifting the arms, lifting the chest, and then just slightly bringing the upper torso back, Keeping that back leg really active as our anchor. Bend that front knee a little more. And then bring your torso back to a neutral position. Straighten your front leg. Turn your feet round. Bring the arms down. And step or hop back to mountain pose. Spread your toes. Body weight back over the heels. Lift your chest. Roll the shoulders down and back. And extend through the fingertips. Okay, chair pose. We're going to bring the feet to a generous hip distance. Turn the toes in ever so slightly. Bring the hands on the hips. Draw the elbows back to really open across the chest. Inhale, lift up, and exhale, sit down, keeping your knees tracking directly above your ankles. So not going in or out, but you can just have a look down and make sure that they are staying directly above the ankles. Now in this position, belly button really drawing into the spine, lift the chest and see if you can sit the hips down a little bit more. You can either keep your hands here on your hips, drawing the elbows back to keep the chest open, or take the arms up overhead and lengthen. That's going to need a little bit more strength in the back. Body weight is through the heels. See if you can sit down a little bit more, keeping those knees tracking above the ankles. Draw the belly to the spine, lift the chest up one more time. Keep the breath flowing, lengthening through to the fingertips. Sit down a little bit more. And then coming up, bring the arms down, feet together. Take a moment in mountain pose, spreading your toes, lifting your chest, rolling the shoulders down and back. Okay, we're going to do chair pose again, but this time with the feet together. Spread the toes nice and wide. You can again do this either with your hands on your hips or up above your head. So if the hands are on the hips, draw the elbows back. Otherwise, take the arms up above the head. Inhale, lift up, and exhale, sitting down, drawing the belly towards the spine. Keep the chest lifted. Body weight back through the heels. See if you can sit down a little bit more. Really keep that belly working. Lift the chest up one more time. Sit down another inch. And then coming all the way up. Bring the arms down side. And take a moment to breathe. Inhale, lifting the chest. Exhale, extending the fingers down towards the floor. Okay, hands on hips, bend the knees and come to a wide stride for a wide-legged forward bend. Turn the toes in a little bit more, so slightly pigeon-toed with the feet. Body weight back, really engaging through the quadriceps and seeing if you can turn the feet out a little bit, so you're lifting the inner arches of the feet. Quite difficult in this position, but pushing the weight to the outside edges of the feet. Hands on hips, draw the elbows back. Inhale, lift the chest, lengthening the front of the body, and exhale, coming forward only so far as you can without rounding or collapsing. So you turn to the side, I'll have to go a bit less wide because I'm going to slip otherwise. But coming down so that you can keep this length in the front body and being in a slight back bend. So if the hamstrings are very tight and that means they're only coming to here, that's fine. If you can come even further, that's also fine. But maintaining that slight back bend is what we want. Okay, draw the belly in and inhale, come back up. We're in there a while, don't worry, we're going to go there again. Okay, so reset your feet if you need to, body weight back, engaging through the quadriceps. This time we're going to interlace the hands behind the back, lengthening them down behind us, and then again, long front body, coming forwards only so far as you can without rounding, and then you can draw the arms up away from the hips. You might be holding it here if that is as far as you can go, keeping that arch in the back, or if you want to, if you have that range, you can come down a little bit more, work the arms away a little bit more. Whichever position you're in, super active through your legs. So really making sure those quadriceps are still working, the feet are still working, pushing down through the outside edges of the feet, belly to spine, super strongly. And really drawing the lowest rib down. So you're not trying to get your chest or your head to the floor. Imagine you're trying to get your lowest rib a little bit closer to the floor. Holding it there for just another couple of breaths, seeing if you can lengthen that exhale, drawing the chest forward, and then belly to spine, coming all the way up. You can just heel toe your feet in a little bit before hopping back to center. Spread your toes, body weight back, lift the chest, roll the shoulders down and back, extending through the fingertips. Okay, come to the narrow edge of your mat if you're not there already, and bring your feet again a generous hip distance apart, toes in, heels out. And we're going to do that same style of forward bend, but this time with the legs a little bit narrow. And so I really want you to focus on keeping the length in the front body. So if you don't know what I mean, just have a look first. We're gonna inhale, lengthen the front body, keeping that front body long, come down as far as possible without rounding. So you can see here I've still got my spine in a neutral position, and then bend the knees before laying the rest of the torso down over the thighs. So this might mean that your legs are very bent if your hamstrings are quite tight. And then we're just going to use the arms to draw towards the floor and slowly lift the hips up, but keeping this contact between chest and thighs. So if you went all in already and you're happy there, just stay there. If anyone hasn't gone in yet and was just watching, we can go in together now. So grounding through the feet, engaging the quadriceps, squeezing the glutes a little bit, interlace the hands behind the back. In fact, switch your grip, seeing as we only did one grip on the wide leg. So use your less dominant thumb, draw the belly in, inhale, lift the chest, and exhale, coming forward with a long front body, belly to spine, coming forwards as far as you can without rounding, and then bend the knees and lay the stomach on the thighs. So belly to thighs, chest to knees, bending the knees as much as you need to make that happen. Relax the head completely. You can give it a little shake here, and then drawing the arms down towards the floor. And see if you can just lift the hips up an inch or two, maybe less than that, but keeping that stomach and thighs connection. So you should feel a stretch right in the center of your hamstrings. Okay, and then bend your knees a lot, bring the gaze forwards, and coming up with a flat back. Release the hands, shake them out a little bit. Okay, now we'll take the arms up overhead, lift and lengthen. If you want to have your hands on your hips again for this, for a bit less of a challenge on your back, feel free to do so. Otherwise, stretching up and then coming forwards. I've got a wall in the way, flex my wrists, and coming all the way down, hands on the floor. And you can just bend your knees right and left a little bit here. That feels good. Just loosen up into the lower back. Allow the head to hang. And then we're going to step or hop our feet back to a downward dog position. So if you've got tight hamstrings, go a little bit wider than hip distance with your feet. Keep your knees bent and your heels up off the floor, turning the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Really use your hands to push your body weight back out of your hands towards your feet. Turning that tailbone up, relax the head completely, and breathing here. You can again bend one knee and the other knee if that feels good. Or just coming to stillness, feeling the stretch in the back of the legs, if that's what you prefer to do. Okay, and then drop your knees wide, toes together, forehead to the floor. If your forehead doesn't comfortably reach the floor, you can stack your hands, but rest your forehead on something. And just close your eyes and breathe into the sides and the back of the rib cage. Okay, drawing the belly towards the spine and roll up a little bit here to come to an all fours position, knees under your hips, hands underneath your shoulders, belly to spine, neutral spine, head in line, shoulders away from the ears. And we'll just do a couple of, I guess, cat-cow, but a little bit differently. So whereas usually you would just kind of exhale to this position and then inhale to this position, I want to see if you can work your way up through the spine. So have a look and see what I mean if you're not sure. So I'm going to take an inhale, and as I exhale, draw my belly towards my spine, start to turn my tailbone down, rounding through the lower back, and then rounding through the middle back, and then rounding through the upper back, and finally the head goes down. I'm going to take a breath in here, and then again as I exhale, starting with the tailbone, turning first the tailbone up, arching through the mid back, upper back, and head moves last of all. Take a breath in at the top of the movement, and again with the exhale, seeing if you can move through the spine bit by bit, and then inhale at the top of the movement and exhale, keeping the belly drawing up towards the spine throughout. So just going through a couple more of these in your own time, noticing if there's any areas that you find difficult to move separately, or if your whole spine just kind of wants to flex and bend in one go. Okay, and then coming back to a neutral position, and we're going to go through the little flow sequence that we have been doing in previous classes. In the first round, I'm going to get us to hold each position for a few breaths so I can talk you through all the cues, and then you can go into it a little bit faster. So we'll begin by going into down dog. If you haven't seen me demo this before, just have a look. So we're going to tuck the toes under, drop the hips all the way back to the heels, relax the head, take an inhale, and as you exhale, lift the hips straight up. And so you'll notice that my upper body doesn't really move much here. So kind of what wants to happen is this, but finding this position where the hips are dropped all the way back towards the heels and keeping the upper body still, just turning in the hip sockets, lifting the legs up, turning the tailbone up towards the ceiling. So coming into that position, if you haven't already, relax the head, really pushing away with the hands, pushing the body weight back towards the feet. And if you can, just bending the elbows ever so slightly, turning the points of the elbows down towards the floor, and then straightening up again, making a little bit of space for the neck here. And then we're going to come forward to a plank, again holding it here for a few breaths. So arms are straight, shoulders are protracted, so really pushing the floor away, head in line with the spine, with the shoulders down away from the ears. Belly squeezing in towards the spine, glutes are active, pushing the tailbone down towards the floor. Legs are really, really active, so pushing the heels away, lifting the quadriceps, and keep the breath flowing. If you need to drop the knees here, feel free to do so. Otherwise, holding it here for another couple of breaths. Okay, and then coming forward to chaturanga, again, dropping your knees first if you need to. Otherwise, you rock forwards a little bit over the wrists, and the elbows come in tight, belly to spine, lowering down with control. Keep the glutes squeezed, so I'm not kind of arching my back like this, but really squeezing the glutes down, legs are active. Drop your knees if you need to. Holding it here for another couple of breaths. And then inhaling to up dog. So again, you can drop the hips down if you need to here, if you need to relax it a little bit. Otherwise, pushing the floor away, shoulders away from the ears, so really long neck. Glutes, again, really, really active, squeezing the tailbone down. Find a little bit of length in the lower back, lifting the chest. And then roll over the toes and push your way back to a downward dog, turning the tailbone up. Okay, so if you need a rest, feel free to take child's pose for a moment and then join us. Otherwise, we're going to be now doing that little sequence with the rhythm of our breath. So coming forwards to plank, exhaling down to chaturanga, inhaling to up dog, exhaling to downward dog. Inhaling forwards, exhaling down to chaturanga, inhaling to upward dog, exhaling to downward dog. So doing this in your own time. Make sure the elbows are in tight on chaturanga, shoulders away from the ears in the up dog, turning the tailbone up towards the ceiling in the down dog. Dropping the knees if you need to, or just coming to a child's pose if that's what you really need in this moment. Okay, and then finishing your cycle wherever you are, and we'll all meet in child's pose, knees wide, big toes together, forehead to the floor or stack the hands. Maybe you want to bring the arms down by the sides of the body this time. And breathing wide into the sides and the back of the rib cage. Okay, draw the belly in and roll up to a kneeling position. And we're gonna come into downward dog again. Let me get my watch so you can see what time it is. So again, set up first of all with your hands under your shoulders, knees under the hips, tuck the toes, drop the hips back all the way, relax the head, take an inhale, And exhale, lift the hips straight up. Step your big toes together so the feet are touching in the center. And then we're going to inhale the right leg up towards the ceiling, lengthening those toes away. See if you can turn that right hip down a little bit towards the floor. And then exhale, step your foot in between your hands. You might need to take a couple of steps to get there. That's absolutely fine. And then coming into a lunge position. If you want to drop your back knee here, that's fine as well. Or if you want to be a bit more active, staying up in the lunge, pushing the heel away. So again, a bit like in Warrior One, we're squeezing the inner thighs together, really active with the inner thighs, drawing the front hip back and the back hip forward, active through the glutes, draw the belly in. Now you can either stay here with your hands on your hips, chest lifted, elbows back, or you can take the arms up above the head, lengthen the torso, extending through to the fingertips. Again, hold it here if you wish, or we can take it into a slight back bend, so really lifting before you go back. So stretch the hands up one more time, and then gently bringing the gaze back. Relax your forehead, it's not going to help. Gazing at a single point, whichever position you're in. And then bringing the hands back to the floor, tuck the back toe if you've got that knee down and come back to this lunge. And then we're gonna step back to the split dog, lengthening those right toes up towards the ceiling. And then bring the foot down to meet the left one. Bring the knees down, we'll just take a moment in child's pose. So this time, toes and knees together, relax the head. Again, you can bring the arms back beside the body if you prefer. And then draw the belly in, roll up through the spine. And we'll go to the other side. Spread the fingers nice and wide so your hands are your foundation in the down dog. So really grounding down the whole hand. When we go into the down dog as well, check that your hands aren't rolling out to the side. So this knuckle of the first finger really wants to be glued to the floor. Tuck your toes, drop your hips back to your heels, relax your head completely, take an inhale, and as you exhale, turning in the hips, lifting the hips up, tailbone up towards the ceiling, arms are really active, push the body weight back towards the heels, step your feet together, big toes touching, and this time inhaling the left leg up towards the ceiling, extending through to the toes. Inhale, stretching that leg away, and exhale, step that foot between the hands, again taking a couple of steps if you need to, and then bringing the body up into your lunge. Drop your back knee and untuck the foot if you wish, or if you're staying up in the high lunge, really active through this quadricep. So engage the quadricep, push the heel away, squeeze the inner thighs together, so we're active in the inner thighs, active in the glutes, belly to spine, chest lifted, elbows back. Either staying here with the hands on the hips or lifting the arms up overhead, lengthening the torso. And if you wish, you can bring this into a slight back bend, lifting up before you go back. Keep the face relaxed, keep the gaze on a single point. See if you can sit down into that lunge a little bit more. And then with control, bringing the arms back down. If you've got the back knee on the floor, tuck the toes and lift it up. And then we come back through split dog, extending those left toes up, and then bring the foot down, drop the knees, and rest for a moment in child's pose. Bring the arms to the side of the body, or you can lengthen the body away, a little bit more active. You can use your fingers to creep the spine forwards. And then slowly coming up to a kneeling position. Okay, we're going to do a camel pose. So bring your knees hip distance apart, tops of the feet flat on the floor, or you can also lift your heels up and tuck the toes like this, whichever feels good for you. And then, so the main thing that we really need to think about in camel pose is keeping the glutes active and keeping this turning under of the tailbone. So by squeezing the glutes, pushing the hips forward, tilting the hips that way, we're keeping a bit of length in the lower back as we go into camel pose. So really active through the glutes here. We can bring the hands to the lower back and push the hips forwards even more. And then from here, we're lifting the chest. So in any back bend, before you go back, think up. So really lifting the sternum, drawing the elbows back, and perhaps dropping the head back a little bit. So this might be it. That might be as far as you want to go. This can be plenty of work on its own, just keeping the glutes active and supporting that slight back bend. Or if you want to go back a little bit more with control, coming back evenly until you can reach your heels. Keeping the breath flowing, lifting the heart up towards the ceiling. And if you want to relax your head completely, that can feel good. Or you can keep the chin tucked, depending what feels good in your body. Squeezing those glutes, really pushing the hips forward. And then bringing up one hand and the other hand and coming up evenly and sitting the body back down on the heels. And just taking a few breaths here, noticing how you feel. Deep back bend like that can feel quite vulnerable and or nauseating sometimes. And just taking a moment to use your breath to calm the nervous system, so lengthening the exhale. Okay, and we're going to come forwards one more time. So bring your hands forwards and then step back into your plank position, squeezing the belly in, squeezing the glutes, keeping that lower back long, shoulders away from your ears. Down to chaturanga, hovering here if you can, or just melting down if you would prefer. Keep the glutes squeezing and then allow the body to come all the way down to the floor. Okay, so we're gonna raise each of the legs in turn. When we go into this, I want you to rest your forehead on your hands like this, but just have a look first at what I'm doing. So keeping the hip on the floor, I'm going to lift up one leg. So I'm not doing this. I'm keeping the hip bone touching the floor and lifting the leg up only so far as I can, keeping that contact. So we're going to do one leg and then the other leg and then both legs. Okay, so bringing your forehead onto your floor, onto your hands even. So stack your hands and rest your forehead there. As with the other back bends, we're starting by activating the glutes, so sending the tailbone down, really active through the glutes. And then we're going to lift the right leg up only so far as you can, keeping the hip bone touching the floor here. So keep that contact between the hip bone and the floor, using the strength of the glute to lift the leg up. And see if you can draw the toe away from you, so you're lengthening back before lifting up. Imagine someone's got hold of your foot and is pulling it away. Lift it up a little bit more and slowly relax down. And then we go to the other side. So engage now the left leg, keep that hip bone down on the floor as you lift the leg up, squeezing the glute. Keep the legs straight. So resist the urge to bend the knee. Imagine someone's pulling your toes away from you. And then relax down. And just take a moment here to relax completely. So big toes together, heels apart. And breathe wide into the lower back. Okay, and then we're going to do both legs together. So this time bring the arms, palms facing down on the floor, either side of you. You can either have the forehead or the chin on the floor, whatever's more comfortable for you. Squeeze the glutes and then lift both legs up together, and you can use your hands to push into the ground a little bit, keeping the legs really straight. And then slowly releasing down. Allow the feet to come out towards the sides and breathe into the lower back. Okay, hands by the side of the chest, and push yourself up and back, toes together, knees wide. Extend the torso forward and relax the head. Really using the breath to breathe into the back, so breathing into the sides and the back of the rib cage, using that breath to massage back muscles. And then coming up to a kneeling position, and we'll move over onto our backs. And using your elbows to roll yourself down. We're going to do just the rolling over the hips that we did last time. So if you weren't in the last class, just have a look. We're going to inhale with the knees up like this, and then exhale, keeping the feet on the floor, just drawing one knee down towards the opposite foot, inhaling to center, and then exhaling that other knee down. And so obviously doing this with the rhythm of your breath, just rolling over the hips and the lower back and feeling a little bit of a stretch in the front of the hip flexor here. Inhaling to center and exhaling to each side. Taking the spine into a gentle twist and just massaging over the glutes. And then come back to center. Lift the knees, squeeze the knees in gently. And again, you can roll from side to side a little bit, if that feels good. And bring the feet to the floor. Okay, and then we're going to come into Shavasana. So starting again with this feet back flat on the floor position. If you want to grab anything to put on, any socks or jumpers, feel free to do so. And just taking a few breaths here, allowing the weight of the pelvis to sink down. And then I want you to lift your chest by pushing the elbows down into the floor and drawing the shoulder blades down underneath your heart to open across the chest. And then push into the feet, lift the hips, lengthen the lower back. And then finally allow the legs to come long. Turn the palms up to face the ceiling. Allow the feet to fall out to the side. And close your eyes. And just make any final adjustments so that you can lay comfortable and still for the next few minutes. If you want to put a cushion or something under your knees, that can be a little bit more comfortable in the lower back. And once you've found a comfortable position, bringing the awareness to the breathing. And allowing the body to relax and soften into the floor. And again, I'm going to do a body scan. So just bringing your awareness to each body part as I name it, and perhaps relaxing it a little more, noticing if there's any tension there. So starting with the feet, bring the awareness to the toes, feet, and ankles. And then bring your awareness into your shins, your calves, and knees. Bring your awareness into your thighs, into the pelvis, allowing the weight of the pelvis to sink into the floor. Bring your awareness into the lower back, middle back, and upper back. And into the abdomen, navel, and chest. Bring your awareness into your shoulders, your upper arms and elbows. And into the forearms, wrists, and hands. The palm of the hand, the back of the hand, the thumb, and each of the fingers. And then bringing your awareness up into the neck and head. Relaxing all the muscles of the face, the jaw, tongue, teeth, relax. Lower lip, upper lip, nose and cheeks, relax. The eyes, eyelids, eyebrows, and forehead. And then again, bringing the awareness to the breath. As you inhale, belly rises, and as you exhale, belly falls. Notice the sensations of the breath as the air moves in and out past the nostrils. And the gentle movement, the diaphragm, the rib cage. soft, slow breath. If you want to stay in Shavasana for longer, then I invite you to do so. But otherwise, starting to bring the breath back to a more normal level, and starting to gently move the toes and the fingers, the legs and the arms. You can turn the head to one side and the other side. And then when you're ready to move, draw up one leg and the other leg, bringing the feet flat onto the floor. Squeeze the knees into the chest. Roll on the lower back a little bit if that feels good. And then turning onto one side, keep your eyes closed if you can. Take a couple of breaths here. And then when you're ready, just using your arms to bring yourself back to a seated position. Sit yourself again on a block or a cushion if you like. And again, just close your eyes, sitting up straight one last time. Inhale, rising up through the crown of the head. And exhale, drawing the shoulders down and back. And you can either keep your hands resting on your thighs or bring your hands to prayer position, resting the thumbs on the sternum. Bow the chin towards the chest and take a moment to notice how you feel. Perhaps set the intention to take a little bit of this awareness into the rest of your day. And then raise your head and open your eyes. Thank you. Namaste, everyone.